Hello and welcome back to the channel. I want to have a look at animated objects, animated animals in particular. I'm going to take them from this particular map and then basically just bring them over into a different map. So a bit of exporting and importing, setting up some splines, looking at some user attributes, bits and pieces, how to join everything together with path file names, scripts and other bits and pieces. So hopefully this will be informative. Anybody's interested in how to get the animated animals. This will be for pretty much any animated object that you want to put on the map. There will be some differences to do with the actual splines and where they are and how they're located and all the rest of it, but for the most part it will be a pretty straightforward sort of setup. Okay, so on this particular map we've got a couple of different things. There's a couple of different horses which I'm going to be working with, possibly one or two, I don't know yet, and there's also a dog. Anybody who's played on this map will have seen these, so we'll just get straight into it. So what I want to do here is export some splines. You could always create your own splines, but then you would need to set up all the user attributes and whatever else yourself. Much easier to just find the appropriate map with what you need on it, export the spline with all the user attributes already set up for you, and then just change some path file names and bits and pieces. So we'll go through all that hopefully in this video. So I'm going to take, well, we'll go with this one, I think, the horse ready, that's fine. We'll just work with the one horse and then we'll just do the dog as well. So I'm going to copy the actual text in my attributes window. I'm going to go into File, Export Selection with Files, and I want to actually bring this into a different map. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel that, and I will do the same again, but I need to find different. So let's go back to my desktop here. I'm going to work with, and I've got so much, I need to tidy this up a little bit. So let's find the appropriate map. There we go. I'm going to go into Maps, Models. I'm going to create a new folder in here. I'm going to call this Animated Things, like so. And we'll open up that one, paste in our name, and click Save. We're going to click No because I don't want it to follow the parent directory structure from this map. I wanted to create a whole new one for me. So we're going to work with that one. We're going to come down to the dog. So we'll take the name from there like so. I'm going to go File, Export Selection with Files. Paste it in, always making sure you're in the right map folders. Click Save and No. Perfect. Okay, so what we want to look at here is a couple of things in our user attributes. Got an i3D file name, if I can actually say that, which is in this particular folder structure: Maps, Textures, Thornton Textures, Animated Things, and then dog.i3d. And if we go to the horse one, so we worked with horse ready. So if we look at this one, same folder, slight just different name, that's fine. So we need to find those two and then bring them into the map that I'm going to be working with as well. So don't need to actually do too much in here. We need to obviously look at our scripts. We need to look at what that is. So we've got animal pedestrian, which is our script. So we'll need to copy that over and then create our path file name in the mod desk and all the rest of it. So we can do that. So don't really need this map open anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and close that down. So what I do need to do is go into Textures, Thornton Farm Textures, Animated Things. So I want to work with the appropriate parts here. So I've got horse ready. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open this up in Giants Editor. This is the way I want to do it. So make sure that by doing it this way, for me, it makes sure that I get only what I need and nothing more. So with the actual i3D for the horse, the animated horse opened up, you can have a look at this, see what the horse looks like. Obviously it'll be static and all the rest of it. Once you get into game, it will then be animated. But what I want to do is I'm going to go File and I'm going to go Export All with Files. Again, making sure I'm in the right folder here. So I'm just going to call this horse and click Save. No, we don't want the same parent directory structure, so that's fine. And I can close that one down. Then I need to just find the dog, so I'm going to open this one up. Do the same again. So I'll just go Export All with Files, and we'll just go dog, save, no, and done. So we close that down. Okay, so don't need anything else from there in that particular folder. So I can go back to the scripts folder here, and I need to take the scripts folder, the script from that folder and copy it into my folder here. So we've got animal pedestrian, so I'm going to copy that over like so. I've already experimented with this and played around just to make sure it actually worked, so I've already put it in there. But so just copy that over into the scripts file that you're going to be working with, and we're done there. So next thing we need to do is obviously create our path file name in our mod desk on the map that you're going to be editing and working with. So we'll come into here, I'm going to just create a new line, so we'll make a copy there and then paste that in like so. Go back into the folder here, into my scripts folder, take the text from there, copy that, and we'll just overwrite that one like so. Done. And save. Excellent, all set up there. Perfect. So we've got our script in place, we've got our mod desk all set up and everything else. Perfect. So next thing we need to do here is obviously go into the map itself. So we're going to open up the map in Giants Editor here. Give that a second to load in. Okay, so we're now in the map in Giants Editor that I'm going to play around with. I've got an area on this particular map which has some static horses, so I figured why not add an animated one as well. So first of all, what we want to do here is I'm going to create a new transform group. So I'm going to go create transform group, find the transform group I just created, and I'm going to rename this to animated things. Oh, I've spelled that wrong. Well, I haven't spelled it wrong, just put uppercase where I want a lowercase. There we go, perfect. So then I need to go into File, Import, find the right place, which we've got for us already, and then obviously identify your splines, which I've got this one and this one. So we'll do the horse because that's where we are now. Import that, highlight it, Control X to cut it, highlight my new transform group, paste it in, perfect. So before you can actually edit a spline, it must be made visible. We do that in our attributes window. We've got a tab here called, or a tick box called visibility. We need to click that so that it's got the tick in it, and I'll show you the differences. So if I actually highlight the transform, the spline there, I'm going to go Control B to bring it over onto the map somewhere where I can see it, and it might sometimes put it under the map, so you just need to raise it up until you can actually see the spline in its entirety like that, so it's all joined together and whatever else, because it might look like you've got it but it's under the map. So just bring it up until you can actually see the entire spline. This is why it's important to have the visibility ticked, because if I now untick it, obviously the spline disappears, so you wouldn't know the difference whether it was under the map or not. And also, if I don't have the visibility ticked, I cannot edit the spline, because as soon as I try and click on it, it won't let me select any of the nodes or the insert points. So you need to click visibility so it shows the spline, then I can actually click on the points. So my recommendation here, this is the way I'm going to do it, is I'm going to actually start at the start, which is a good place to begin. So we'll click on the start point here, S and E, so we've got S for start, E for end, pretty straightforward. I would probably say the best thing here to do would be to unlink it, and we do that with the O key, not the 0 key. So by pressing the O key, it actually unlinks the spline, and then what I would do is actually hit the delete key on your keyboard and get rid of some of the excess insert points, because we're going to be adding in a lot more anyway. This just makes the spline more manageable, again in my opinion. And then what I want to do here is I want to have it so that it starts here and then possibly goes round to the right anti-clockwise direction, somewhere like that. So I'm going to go Control B and click there like so. That puts the start point of my spline in the right place. With my arrow keys on my keyboard, I can move between the insert points. So starting at this particular point, I'm going to hit the insert key on my keyboard and actually create a new insert point, and I'm going to move to that insert point with my keyboard arrow keys, and then I'm just going to literally bring it out like so. So we're going to go start and we're going to go around this way. Actually we won't, we'll go the other way. Why not? Let's go clockwise. So we'll bring this over to here and we can come back round this way, that's fine, doesn't really matter. So, and we'll create another insert point there and move to it with the arrow keys again and come round, raising it up, lowering it down as we see fit. This is for me easier by deleting all of the additional or extra insert points and then creating my own. I find it much easier to manipulate and work with the actual spline. If you're trying to move the ones that are already there, they're laid out specific for a different map because that's where you've taken it from, unless you've created your own from scratch, which you would then be doing this anyway. It can be quite cumbersome to try and manipulate insert points that are already there, so I just say get rid of as many as you need to and start from scratch and then put your own in. It's much easier. So now we've got that one there, we'll create another one and move to it, and again we'll just come up to a point here, and we'll need to obviously level this out somewhat so that the whatever it might be, in this case obviously a horse, is going to follow the track that we were laying down, the spline that we're laying down. So I'm going to go insert again and put another one in, and we'll move to that one, and we'll just come round, another one, and we'll just come round a bit more. And we'll put another one in, and then come round a bit more, put another one in, and just keep going backwards and forwards until you get between the actual points, until you get one that, a spline that looks like you want it to look, you know, that the object or whatever you're going to put on it is going to move in the right direction and all the rest of it. So we'll just go around here like so. Let's create another one over here, bring that one round. And we can create another one there, bring that out to here somewhere, around the tree, and then what I would suggest here is to actually go back through the actual points and just check that they are at the right height as you go through them. So come all the way back, lift it up with the gizmo, hit the page down key on your keyboard so that it actually puts the height of the spline relevant to the actual terrain height. And I've chosen a relatively difficult scenario here where it's actually sloped in various different angles. If this was a flatter area on your map, then it would be much easier to do because you would just, you know, have a flat area to work with, whereas this is up, down, all over the place. So, but I wanted to give everybody kind of like, you know, the worst, let's say worst case scenario where you're working with an uneven terrain, just so you can see how to manipulate the spline in all cases. So we can go to, let's see if I did that one or not, can't remember. So let's go to this one, and we'll do that one, go to the next one, and just keep going through them until you get it roughly where you want it to be. Like I say, you may need to come back a few and then work with them, put more insert points in places just to get it level and everything else. And as you obviously align it to the ground, it will look slightly different than what it did when it was floating in midair, so you'll need to adjust it again to work with that, and so on and so on. So we'll put another insert point into there and another one in there. Move this one round a bit further. Put another one in. Move it round a bit further, and we can just work with these and manipulate them however we want to get it to work for us. Move that one out a bit, this one out a bit, and so on and so on. We're going to try and work it so that it's actually going to work around the static objects that we've got on the map already, the static horses, so it will kind of weave in between them and all the rest of it. So what we'll do here is we'll grab this one and bring this one over here a little bit, and then bring this last one down and over to here somewhere. Then we can go back over the ones we've already done and just put them at the right height. And then for the last sort of little bit at the bottom here, you want it to have a nice angle. You don't want it to be all like, you know, jagged or whatever else. You want the animated object to follow a nice line. So we can put an insert point here to give us a bit more of a bend, and then bring this out a little bit further if we want to, like so. Come to this one, bring this one back a little bit, and then we can come to our end point here, create another insert point there, and bend it round, bring it up, level it off, hit our O key on our keyboard to link it back together again, and we have now created our spline around our field. And again, this is it will take time. You can't just, you know, whack it in there and hope for the best. You'll need to create insert points to get it to look, you know, appropriate, and so that the object that you're going to be putting on it moves in the right sort of fashion, and whatever else. So and then just come back through them again, lift them up, and then just page down so that it puts it at the right height for the terrain. Sometimes they can look a bit weird. They don't quite, you know, look like they're in the right position, like this is going under the ground, but in game that possibly might be okay. You'll need to go into game, test it out, make sure it's going to work properly, come back out again, go back into game, and just, you know, come back into the editor and manipulate it a bit further and keep going until it works. Really, it's just, you know, very time consuming, but can be beneficial. We'll work with that and see what it looks like in game. I think this one over here might be a bit floaty, so we'll come over to this one. What I'll do is, irregardless of what it looks like, you know, as long as it's working, I'll just, you know, go with that. I'm not too fussed around the rest of it, for the video at least. This is just to give you an indication of what's actually going to be involved and how to get it all working and whatever else. It'll be up to you to manipulate the spline to get it to work for you, because irregardless of how long I spent getting this absolutely perfect, when you're working with whatever map you're going to put this into, it will be a completely different scenario. I guarantee it. So, you know, it won't matter how long I spend. It won't be the same as what you're going to end up going through. Each time I do a spline, it's always different to the last one I did in how it works and how I manipulate it to the map and everything else. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just bring these up a little bit just so that they look about right, and we'll work with that. Okay, so excellent, we've got that somewhere about where we want it to be. I think I might just put another insert point into there, just bring that up a little bit. And this is what it will be like. You'll just need to go around it, put your insert points in where you think will be right for your map, and then get it to the correct terrain, height, and all the rest of it. Okay, so now that we've got that one into there, we're good to go on that. We've got our script set up, so our on create will be working perfectly fine. What we do need to do though is change our O3D file name, because it's no longer in that folder, because we put it in a different folder structure. For me, it's in models and then animated things. So what I need to do here is I've got maps, models, animated things. So I've already got my maps in there. So what I need to do is change this. So I'm going to delete all of this stuff here, back to animated things, and I'm going to type in there models. And then what I also need to do is make sure that the actual O3D file name is the same, because mine is actually called horse, just horse. So what I need to do there is remove the text so that it matches like so. Excellent. So I've got all that set up. Hit tab on the keyboard to lock that change in and click off of it. Now at the moment the actual spline will still be visible, but we'll change that when we do after we've done the one for the dog. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come over to my town centre here, and I'm just going to bring in the dog, and I'm going to have him, I don't know, maybe sort of playing around in the front garden here, the front sort of yard. We'll get it imported and then we'll manipulate it as we see fit. So I'm going to go File, Import. Dog 2 is my spline. So remember what the difference between the actual spline name and the actual animated horse. A bit of a giveaway is the actual file size. Your spline will be quite low because there's nothing to it in its size, whereas the actual animated object will be a much higher file size, so, or i3D file size. So just, that's a bit of a giveaway there, but if you can remember what the names are, can be a little bit easier, but anyway, whichever works for you. So we're going to click on that one again. I'm going to click it, Control X to cut it. I'm going to put it in my own created transform group here. Control V to paste it in. Done. So with it highlighted again, I need to click visibility so it shows up. Control B, click on the map area that I want to bring it over to, and then we'll just play around with it somewhere here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to raise it up again so I know it's above the ground, so I can see the spline in its entirety. Again, this is why it's important to click visibility so you can see the whole spline. And again, it's important because if you don't have visibility ticked, you won't be able to edit it. So what I want to do here is I'm going to click on my start point, and I'm going to hit the delete key on the keyboard and get rid of some of these excess insert points. Perfect. I'm going to hit my O key on my keyboard to separate it so I can work with it better. And then what I'm going to do is just have him, work around this trampoline area here. So with the start point highlighted, Control B, and I'm going to just click over here. We'll have him start over here somewhere. I'm going to go to my next insert point and then just manipulate that as I see fit. We'll move it around like that. Go to my next one. Well, we'll go to the end and we'll bring this round to here somewhere. And then go to this one and the next one, and just work with them until you get it again how you want it to be. So I need to put a nice bend in there, so I'm going to create another insert point there to create my bend, and we can bring this one back a little bit out here like this. Bring this one back. I'm not going to get too technical. You can make these however you want them so they zigzag all over the place, but I'm not going to make it too technical for the video. And then we'll create another insert point over here so I can make this one a nice bend as well. We'll just bring it up a little bit. Another insert point there, and another one so we can have a nice bend coming round to there. And we'll just hit the O key on the keyboard, join it together. And again, what we'll do is we'll go round and just page down to get them somewhat level to the ground. Again, because it's up in the air, it will look different to what it is once it's level to the ground, so you'll probably need to manipulate it again to get it where you need it to be. And then once you've got it somewhat satisfactory where you think you can work with it and all the rest of it, which I think that's pretty good, that'll do again for the video. It will be a case, as I say before, go into game, test it out, see what it looks like. If you're happy with it, great. If not, you'll need to come back in a Giants editor, manipulate it a little bit more, add a couple more insert points in or delete some, move it around however you see fit till you're happy with it, and then go from there. Okay, so next thing we need to do is obviously change our i3D path file name again. So we'll delete what we need to, keep what we need to. So I'm going to go back to here, models, animated things, and again this one is actually luckily called dog.i3D, which is what we have here, so that's fine, don't need to make any further changes there. Hit the tab key on the keyboard, lock it in. Okay, so we've got our two splines and our visibility is turned on the actual spline itself, and you need to have that turned on, because if you don't have that turned on in the actual splines themselves, then the script won't know what to follow. It won't see it. It needs to be visible for the actual script to know where that spline is, and then obviously put the appropriate i3D against that spline. But we don't want those splines to be visible in game. And this is why I created a transform group, because then what I can do is actually highlight the transform group itself and untick the visibility on the transform group, and it goes away. But if I click on the actual splines, they're still there, they still show up. You will not be able to edit them. To edit them, you will need to go back to the transform group and then reselect visibility. Untick it so that it doesn't show up in game. Tick it to edit it in Giants Editor. But the actual splines themselves, leave them on visibility yes. Hopefully that makes sense. Right, so now that we've done that, we've got all that set up, go ahead and save. And then what we can do is get into game and we'll test those out and make sure they're working. So I'll see you once we get into game. Okay, so here we are in game and we have our animated horse. Granted, he is floating in the mid-air, assume it's a he. Not going to look. Yeah, he's floating in mid-air, so you obviously I need to go back in and change the spline a little bit, but it's not too bad there actually. Maybe a little floaty, but you'll need to go back into Giants Editor if you get this, and then obviously adjust the spline height to, you know, whatever you need to adjust it to get him so that he's not quite so floaty. It's a little bit floaty there, but not too bad. So yeah, there's the animated horse. He'll do his thing and go round and all the rest of it. I'm not going to watch him entirely because I think the timings are quite high, so he'll do this animation for some time and then move on a little bit like he did there, and then move on a little bit further and then do this animation again. But you know, you need to, once you obviously get into game, follow the horse or whatever animal or whatever object you've got into the game where possible. Obviously if you're working with a plane, then you'll just need to look up into the sky and see what it's doing, but for your animals you'll need to just watch them and then follow them around, make sure that they do what they need to do and they're not floating like this one is and not disappearing into the ground and all the rest of it. Adjust your spline heights at your insert points, adjust them appropriately to get them to the right height, you know, relevant to the actual terrain that you're going to be working with. But yeah, it looks good. I think, you know, it's in the game. That's the most important thing. It's in the map. Once you get it in the map and you can see it's working, then it's just tweaking it a little bit, because yeah, cause he's clearly on something there. But okay, so what we'll do is we'll jump into the thingy here and we will go over to the go this way. We'll go over to the actual town centre, whatever you want to call it. I guess it might be a city on this map. And we'll have a look at the dog and see what he's doing over there. So I will see you once we get over to there. Okay, here we are. And there we go. We have our dog walking around. Our guard dog in the front garden here, front lawn, whatever you want to call it, doing his patrol. He looks pretty good actually. I assume again it's a he. But no, I'm not going to look. Yeah, there you go. How to get animated things, in this case animals, a horse and a dog, into a map, get it all set up so he does his thing. I've used a particular map. Obviously if you use a different map, the animated bits and pieces, the timings and what they do will be slightly different per map. So you'll just have to work with what you've got on that map and how that is laid out and whatever else. But you know, you choose the bits you choose for whatever reason you like it, so you go with it. So there we go. Hopefully that's been of some help to anybody who wants to have a play around with this, struggling with it, couldn't get it to work, whatever else. So thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.